It was a quiet afternoon when I first discovered the old radio. I had been cleaning out the attic of my grandmother's house, a task I had been putting off for far too long. The house had been in the family for generations, and the attic was filled with dusty relics from the past. Old furniture, worn-out toys, boxes of yellowed photographs, and other forgotten memories. As I sifted through the clutter, my hand brushed against something cold and metallic. Pushing aside a stack of old newspapers, I uncovered an antique radio, its wood casing polished but aged, with a large dial and a pair of old-fashioned knobs. It looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. Something about it drew me in, though. Maybe it was the way it seemed to stand out among the other forgotten items, or perhaps it was the faint, almost imperceptible hum that seemed to emanate from it. Curiosity got the better of me. I lifted the radio carefully, wiping away the thick layer of dust that had settled on top. The hum grew slightly louder as I brought it closer, a strange, low-frequency sound that sent a shiver down my spine. I decided to take it downstairs, eager to see if it still worked. After plugging it into the wall socket, I hesitated for a moment before turning the dial. The radio crackled to life with a burst of static, the sound harsh and grating like the hiss of a snake. I fiddled with the knobs, trying to tune in to a station, but all I could find was more static, broken only by brief snippets of garbled voices and faint music. Just as I was about to give up, the static abruptly cleared, replaced by a soft, melodic tune, a song that sounded like it was from another time, perhaps the 1940s or 50s. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, and I found myself captivated by it. But as the song played, something strange began to happen. The music started to fade in and out, as if the signal was being interrupted by something. Then I heard it. A voice, faint at first, but growing clearer with each passing second. It was an old man's voice, raspy and filled with emotion. "Is anyone there?" the voice asked, the words crackling through the speakers. I froze, my heart skipping a beat. I hadn't changed the station, and there was no one else in the house. Where was this voice coming from? "Please, if you can hear me, listen carefully," the voice continued. "I don't have much time." I leaned in closer, my hands trembling as I turned up the volume. The man's voice was filled with a sense of urgency, as if he was desperately trying to communicate something important. "I've been trapped here for so long," he said, his voice breaking. "I need someone to help me. I need to get a message to my family. They need to know. They need to know I didn't mean to leave them." A cold chill ran down my spine as I realized what I was hearing. This wasn't a normal radio broadcast. Somehow, this old radio was picking up messages from the dead. The man's voice faded out, replaced once again by the eerie static. I frantically turned the dial, hoping to hear more, but the station was lost. My mind raced with questions. Who was this man? What had happened to him? And how was it possible that I was hearing him through this old radio? For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I spent hours in front of the radio trying to tune in to the station again. Sometimes I would hear faint voices, snippets of conversations, but never anything as clear as that first message. It was as if the spirits were trying to reach out, but the connection was too weak. Then, one night, as I sat alone in the dark, the radio came to life on its own. The static cleared and a different voice came through, a woman this time, her tone filled with sorrow. "Why did you leave me?" she whispered, her words echoing through the room. "I've been waiting for you, waiting for so long." The sadness in her voice was palpable, and I felt an overwhelming sense of grief wash over me. I wanted to respond, to tell her that I was there, that I could hear her, but I didn't know how. I was just an observer, powerless to help. The voices kept coming, each one telling a different story, stories of love, loss, regret, and unfinished business. It was as if the radio had become a gateway, a portal through which the dead could speak to the living, and I was the only one who could hear them. But the more I listened, the more I realized that these spirits weren't just trying to communicate with the living. They were trapped, bound to the radio, unable to move on. And by listening, I had somehow become a part of their world. Now I can't escape it. The radio won't stop playing, even when it's unplugged. The voices grow louder each day, their pleas more desperate. They want me to help them, but I don't know how. And I fear that if I don't find a way to free them soon, I might become trapped too. If you've ever experienced anything like this, let me know in the comments. And if you found this story as haunting as I did, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You never know what might be trying to reach you from the other side.